Okay, get this. Rapper, mayor, and now prime minister of a country with 30 million people. I know, it sounds like something straight out of a movie, right? But believe it or not, this is the real-life political earthquake that just rocked Nepal. So today, we're going to break down exactly how this totally unprecedented rise to power even happened.
So that's really the big question, isn't it? How does a total political outsider, an artist of all people, not just challenge but completely take apart a long-standing political dynasty? I mean, this is a classic David versus Goliath story, for real. So let's dig into how Balan Shah actually managed to pull this off.
And honestly, the campaign trail tells you everything you need to know. I mean, think about the contrast here. On one side, you have the incumbent, a four-time prime minister, a real political heavyweight, right? He's going door to door, and the response is, well, muted, kind of quiet. Then, on the other side, you've got Balan Shah, the rapper. His rallies? They had this palpable energy. We're talking people showing up in massive crowds for the movement, even if he wasn't physically there. This just wasn't a normal political campaign. It was a cultural shift happening right before everyone's eyes.
All right, so to really get to the bottom of this whole thing, here's our plan. First, we're going to trace the path that took a rapper all the way to the Prime Minister's office. Then, we'll dive into the three huge challenges he's facing right now: jobs, infrastructure, and those giant neighbors. And to wrap it all up, we'll tackle the big question. Is this really a new era for Nepal?
Okay, first up, rapper to prime minister. Now, to really understand this victory, you've got to realize it wasn't just about one super charismatic guy. Oh no. This was the boiling point, the culmination of so much frustration and a country just demanding a real, genuine revolution. So the stage for all this was really set back in September 2025. That's when a youth revolution actually toppled the government, which just goes to show you how deep the discontent really was. And into that environment, that's when Balan Shah's movement just caught fire. He was speaking directly to all the people who felt completely left behind by the old guard. And the result? A landslide victory, the kind of thing you rarely see, and it totally redrew the political map of Nepal.
But you know, winning the election, that's one thing. Governing is a whole different ballgame. And that brings us to his first massive challenge: creating jobs. And not just any jobs, but convincing an entire generation of young people to stay and build a future right there at home.
And look, this isn't just some abstract economic problem on a spreadsheet. For millions of families in Nepal, this is deeply, deeply personal. The country has one of the highest rates of people leaving, emigration, in the entire world. This so-called brain drain was a huge reason for that revolution we mentioned. You literally had families everywhere whose one simple wish was for their kids to be able to stay home and have a good life.
And this quote right here, wow, it just gets right to the heart of the problem. There was this feeling everywhere that the whole system was rigged, that the old politicians were only interested in nepotism, looking out for their own families and friends instead of the country as a whole. So, because of all that, Balan's mandate, what the people voted for him to do, is crystal clear. They weren't just voting for a new face. They were voting for a fundamental change, a promise to build a system where what you know matters more than who you know.
All right, let's move on to his second massive challenge: infrastructure. And we're not just talking about paving a few roads here. This is about physically connecting an entire nation that's defined by its absolutely incredible but also incredibly difficult geography.
Just look at this number, 80%. Let that sink in for a second. That's how much of Nepal is mountainous. That single number tells you almost everything you need to know about the scale of this challenge. I mean, building anything there is just a monumental task. And the consequences of that geography? You feel them everywhere. The roads are in a state of, frankly, complete disrepair. This poor connectivity slows everything down to a crawl. I mean, get this, it can take weeks, just to get election results from some of the more remote areas. And, as if that wasn't bad enough, the few big projects that actually did get off the ground often got stuck in these huge corruption scandals.
Now this is exactly where being an outsider is Balan's biggest strength. His supporters look at him and see a clean break from all that. The big hope, is that he can finally deliver the development the country so desperately needs, but this time without all the corruption that has held things back for decades.
All right, moving on to his third challenge. And this one might be the most delicate of all: navigating the massive geopolitical balancing act that comes with being stuck between two giants.
People often describe Nepal's situation as a geopolitical sandwich. And honestly, it's a simple but pretty perfect way to put it. You've got this country literally lodged between two of the world's biggest and most competitive powers, India right below it and China right above it.
And this really lays out the dilemma he's in. So you've got India, right? They're the biggest trade partner, the traditional ally. But Belen, even though he was educated in India, has been pretty critical of their influence. Then you have China, a rising investor in the region. But check this out. Belen very pointedly left a key Chinese industrial park out of his manifesto. A lot of people saw that as a signal to India. See what I mean? He's already walking a very fine tightrope.
And you can bet that both New Delhi and Beijing are watching his every single move very, very closely. Because they aren't just neighbors. They're the potential partners who could literally make or break his promises on creating jobs and building that new infrastructure. So, what does this all mean? Is this really a brand new era for Nepal? Well, it really all boils down to one single question. Can this revolutionary challenger actually deliver on everything he promised?
His path forward is, clear, but it's also incredibly difficult. You see how it all connects? He has to create equal opportunities. To do that, he needs to provide clean, corruption-free infrastructure. And to get that built, he's got to navigate those tricky geopolitical waters with a really steady hand. It's like a three-part puzzle.
And that brings up a really crucial point about his style. Look, the confrontational, revolutionary style is what got him elected. But that might not be what's needed to actually govern. To really succeed, he might have to soften that approach a bit and learn the art of compromise and, steady leadership.
Which really leaves us with this one big question to think about. He rode this massive wave of confrontation all the way to power, but is that going to be enough to actually build a new Nepal? Or will this rapper-turned-prime minister need to find a totally new rhythm, a rhythm of compromise, to truly govern and secure his country's future?